CQ RAYNET. This is G4 and RC. Golf 4 November Romeo Charlie, operated today by Greg, Golf 0 Delta Uniform Bravo, serving as net control for the RAYNET-UK weekly activity net. This net meets each Sunday afternoon at 1600 local time and is open to all amateur radio operators interested in emergency communications. The primary purpose of the net is to provide the opportunity for members to test equipment, exchange traffic news, opinions and information, and additional information can be found on the RAYNET-UK website at www.raynet-uk.net. This is a directed net, which means all calls are to be made to the net control station unless you are instructed otherwise, and all RAYNET-UK operators are invited and encouraged to check into the net. When you do check in, please announce your call sign slowly and phonetically, followed by your name, and if you wish to leave the net immediately after checking in, then please call in and out. Otherwise, if you want to leave after subsequent turns, then make it clear you want to check out at that time. After I've heard a few check-ins, I'll repeat what I've heard. If you're not acknowledged, then please try again. If you miss your turn to call in, I will be calling for strays at the end of the UK stations and the international section. So I'll now begin taking check-ins to the RAYNET-UK weekly activity net as usual in call sign number order, starting with stations with figure 8 in their call sign. Please call now. This is G4 NRC.
Golf 8 Kilo Lima Charlie's name's Phil. In and out, please, Greg. I've got half my network in pieces.
Golf 8 Echo Yankee, G8 EEY, name is Mike.
G4 NRC, I've got Phil, Golf 8 Kilo Lima Charlie, who's in and out and putting the rest of his network together. Same sympathies from here, Phil, same problems. And Mike, Golf 8 Echo Yankee, staying with me. Any other 8s, please? G4 NRC, over. G4 NRC, nothing heard, so let's go for 7. Stations figure 7 in their call sign, please go ahead. G4 NRC, over. G4 NRC, second call. I know there's one out there. Any stations figure 7 in their call sign, please call now. G4 NRC, over.
G78. Victor Oscar. Good afternoon, Greg.
G4 NRC, good afternoon, Dave. Mike 7 Alpha Victor Oscar. I'm presuming G798 is there and streaming. I'm not sure if he is yet or not. Can't check too many things at once. So any other calls, any 7s, please? G4 NRC, over.
Yeah, G798. I think I doubled with Dave. Greg, over.
G798, Graham acknowledged. You definitely did, Graham. Thanks for that. Any 6s, please? Stations figure 6 in their call sign, please go ahead. G4 NRC, over.
Golf 6, Papa Delta Echo. My name is Chris.
G4 NRC, good afternoon, Chris. Any other 6s, please? G4 NRC, over. G4 NRC, nothing heard, so it's to the 5. 5. 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 G4 and RC, we still don't have many 5s, so let's go for 4s. Stations figure 4 in their call sign, please. G4 and RC, over. G4KUJ, good afternoon, Trevor, typing away into the log virtually alongside me. Came out with a bit of a blaze of glory there, so I knew you were there from the log, but not got any audio from you that time. It crashed and burned here. Might be because I nearly doubled. Any other fours, please? G4 and RC, over.
Oh, D4KIL, that's not so 6. Not sure if you picked me up last time or not, Greg. Over.
G4KIL, if you don't hear your name, you weren't heard. So I've got G4KUJ Trevor and Philip G4KIL out of the 4 segment. Learning from earlier is about making sure it's two-way communication. Good afternoon, Philip. Let's do a third attempt in case there's any other 4s hiding under there. G4 and RC, over.
Golf 4 Hotel Uniform Foxtrot, another Philip.
Golf 4 Hotel Uniform Foxtrot, G4 and RC. You're only Philip when you're in trouble, Phil, and that's not very often. Good afternoon to you. Any 3s, please? Any stations figure 3 in their call sign, please call now. G4 and RC, over.
Golf 3 Zulu Hotel X-Ray, Ian. Golf 3 Victor Echo Hotel, in and out this afternoon. Great, good afternoon. Burning from very soggy and gloomy Winchester. G3 VEH.
G4 and RC. Good afternoon, Ian. Golf 3 Zulu Hotel X-Ray, and good afternoon and sympathies to Chris. Golf 3 Victor Echo Hotel, who's in and out, and apologies, it's probably my daughter's personal rain cloud that's affecting your local area. Any other 3s, please? G4 and RC, over. G4 and RC, nothing heard, so it's 2s. Stations with figure 2 in their call sign, including you intermediate 2s, please call now, over.
2 Echo 0 Charlie Mike Sierra from Midway, calling.
G4 and RC, good afternoon, Colin. 2 Echo 0 Charlie Mike Sierra, and audio's a little on the hot side, Colin. Watch that in future overs. Any other 2s, please? G4 and RC, over. G4 and RC, nothing heard, so let's have stations figure 1 in their call sign, please. G4 and RC, over. G4 and RC, any stations figure 1 in their call sign, please call now. G4 and RC, over. G4 and RC, then it's the 0s as usual. Let's go for the Mike 0 stations first. Do you have any regional secondary identifier? This is G4 and RC, over.
Mike 0, Oscar Alpha Uniform Lee, in and out.
Mike 0 Romeo Oscar Lima Andrew, in and out.
M0 Jazz, hi, Ollie Ian, I think. Today, Philip today, I think. Ought to be an Ollie Philip send me up about East Suffolk.
G4 and RC, let's see who we have doubling then. So, Lee, Mike 0 Oscar Alpha Uniform, and Andrew, Mike 0 Romeo Oscar Lima. Good afternoon to both of you, both acknowledged as in and out. Alan, now you can keep your name. Mike 0 Juliet Sierra Alpha, staying with me. Any other Mike 0 stations of any regional secondary identifier, please? G4 and RC, over. G4NRC, then any Golf Zero stations of any regional secondary identifier, please. G4NRC, over.
Golf Whiskey Zero, Juliet Lima X-Ray. Good afternoon, Greg. Name is Andy, RAYNET Pembrokeshire. No traffic today, so in and out, please. Over.
G4NRC, good afternoon, Andy. Golf Whiskey Zero, Juliet Lima X-Ray. Noted in and out. Let's skip a step. Any UK stations, including any G0s of any regional secretary identifier, but any UK stations who've missed their turn to call in, please call now. G4NRC, over.
G4NRC, MI0, MSO.
Mike India Zero, Mike Sierra Oscar. Good afternoon, Philip. Okay, now this is getting to look a bit complicated on the log. Good afternoon to you. Any other UK stations who've missed their turn to call in, please call now. G4NRC.
Mike Zero, Whiskey Delta Golf.
Mike Zero, Whiskey Delta Golf. Good afternoon, David. Acknowledge you're staying with me. I'm missing some of the normal stations, though, so any other UK stations waiting to call in, please call now. G4NRC, over. G4NRC. Okay, then it's any international liaison stations. Any international colleagues joining us, that's usually Aaron in Ireland, Nod Samband of Norway, Aries in Slovakia. Please call now. G4NRC, over. G4NRC, second and final call for any international stations, liaison stations to call in. G4NRC, over. G4NRC, then I'm going to guess that Peter, Oscar Mike 4 Alpha Echo India is just going to listen. Right, good afternoon everybody. Today's net is being live streamed by Graham, G7NEH, to YouTube. This live stream and recording are available by searching G7NEH, Golf 7 November Echo Hotel on YouTube, and then go to the Streams tab. Once again, no video from me, which should help the viewing figures this week. Talking of figures, we've got a recent high of 83 hotspots connected today, along with our usual 12 repeaters on the list. So welcome to the stations who've connected or reconnected over the last week. With a sense of deja vu, Storm Debbie has been named. Storm Debbie will affect North Wales and North England on Monday, with gale force winds and heavy rain. Already reaching the fourth storm of the season makes it feel like business as usual, but the period November to February is the period of highest electrical demand and possibly a focus on the power grid. So these storms might have more effects the more time goes on. Last time I looked as well, UK gas storage was around 75% full and there was adequate electricity supply over demand. But are people making preparations for the coming winter, I ask? Thanks to the RAYNET-HF team stations who took part in the IARU Region 1 JS8 call activity period this afternoon. It's still a case of working the bugs out of procedures, but a quick count made it 9 messages passed to and from my station, which is better than when we started quite a few months ago. So a secondary question, if anybody wants to answer it, is what success criteria do you put on your exercises, if any? And finally, just a note that over the last couple of weekends, there's been training weekends for emergency communicators in Germany and Slovenia. The latter was also attended by operators from Bosnia-Herzegovina. Looks like some alignment with our own discussion topics, but a question here about how often you think of looking outside the UK and USA for ideas, because just because it comes from America otherwise doesn't good ideas elsewhere. So let's work our way down the list and see if that spawns any conversation. Golf 8 Echo Echo Yankee, G4 and RC, over.
G4 NRC from G8 EEY. Good afternoon, Greg. Good afternoon, everybody. Yeah, I notice now that it's pretty much, well gone dusk. Almost dark now that we start the net these days. Weather here, it's a balmy 7.4 centigrade. It was forecast to go down to 0 this morning, but it didn't quite make it. 1005 millibars, 92% relative humidity, 38% cloud cover, but that's going to get cloudier, and 6 miles an hour from radio 4 long wave, sorry, at 198 degrees. Yeah, well, I've been spending the last few days out in the cold, arranging for charging from the vehicle alternator into a lithium iron phosphate battery. And I found the only real safe way to do it is to have a power inverter going into the lithium iron phosphate battery charger. Gets quite interesting, especially when it has to avoid triggering the inverter when I run on mains. So it makes voltage sensing rather an interesting task, but we seem to have achieved it. Yeah. Oh, another storm. Oh, goody. Well, the winds are coming pretty well from the west, so hopefully it'll be Tuesday before they arrive here. But I'll see what comes. As for success in exercises, well, if we get to the end of it and we haven't lost anybody, I think that's usually a success. From G8 EEY.
Fate Echo Echo Yankee, G4 and RC returning. Okay, I think I sympathise with the problem with the lithium iron phosphate battery. I've got a couple of solar charger modules to apply the right charging voltage to the LIFE PO4 cells. Realising though that's a bit difficult off a normal car charging circuit because it wants like 4.8 or 14.8 or higher volts. I'm going to make a little boost converter. So rather than going all the way up to 240 volts and back again, I'm going to go from the car voltage up to about 15 or 16, like the solar panel would deliver, and then drop it back down to the charging voltage for the cell, and that should probably keep me going. But it's one of the many piles of boxes that have accumulated here on the desk over the last few months to be done. Maybe the dark nights will help with time. Okay, next to Dave, Mike 7 Alpha Victor Oscar, G4 and RC, over.
G4 and RC, Mike 7 Alpha Victor Oscar. Yeah, good afternoon, Greg. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for taking the net, Greg. Hope all was well in, was it Slovakia, Slovenia last week? Yeah. A bit of a hectic week at home this week, some personal things going on, and going to be heavy in 2 weeks of training courses at work this next couple of weeks, so I may be around and I may not over the next couple of weeks, depends how much paperwork I have to catch up with over the weekend. It looks like I'll be working the Saturdays as well. As you say, getting ready for winter, well, Storm Debbie approaching. Well, hopefully prepared here. I don't really drop masks and things like that, but we've never really been hit that bad here. I don't really have many batteries to charge. I do keep handhelds and things charged up, ready as and when, but we just take it from there. Back to you, Greg, Mike 7 Alpha Oscar.
Mike 7 Alpha Victor Oscar, G4 and RC. Okay, so that was the extra hook I needed to remind me for a comment on Mike as well. Okay, I'm just having handheld batteries to charge. Of course, some of the charging voltages for those are not as pretty as they could be, or easily delivered off a car. You don't normally drop masts, so last week, as I put in the script for Graham, Storm Kieran carried on through Central Europe, taking 15 lives in the end. But for November in Serbia, where the IARU conference is, there are not normally many thunderstorms. But the conference radio station, a Flex Radio 6000, that was on the top floor, with antennas even higher, was a victim to an unseasonal thunderstorm, and one very expensive radio is now very, very not working. So, yeah, they got caught out by the thought or belief that the storm wasn't going to get that far, and presumably didn't have any surge protection on the antenna side. So a little learning experience there of the expensive one. These storms do tend to keep on going to other places, so after you had it, I think about 4 days later, it got to me in Serbia. Right, thanks, Dave. Graham, Golf 7 November Echo Hotel. How many viewers have we got this week? G4 and RC, over.
G4 and RC, G798. Yeah, good afternoon, Greg, and good afternoon to all on the net. Last week we had a total of 54 views and 5 likes, which was quite interesting, as we had no audio for nearly half the net due to a mistake on my part. Interesting, nobody commented either that there was a lack of audio. So yeah, I'll give you this week's figures on the next over, but I can assure you we have full audio this week and everything is going to plan. Radio-wise, yeah, like Dave, I keep handhelds charged up, and I've put my HF long wire again. So I'm now back on HF and set the 705 up with a Wi-Fi connection to the home network, so I can remote it from the computer and do the digital modes, JS8 and FT8, etc. Without the use of cables. So there we go. Right, that's about it from me, I think. G4 and RC, G78.
G7 and the H, G4 and RC returning in the RAYNET-UK activity net. Okay, yeah, bizarre, you didn't get the feedback. The audio wasn't there. I wonder how many people screwed the volume up to 99 on their TVs, just in case. Does bring about another point of feedback. My quick look at the log sheet last week implied there were a lot more people in and out than appear to be the case this week. Please, everybody, if you do hear a change of net control, they've usually got the same scripts as everybody else, so be nice and take full part in the net. It's here for everybody to talk and exchange information on. Otherwise, you'll get me even less, and we'll force the situation. The YouTube videos, be very interested to see if you get any comments this week, Graham. But I do appreciate that point that somebody has to comment back, which was a feature of the JS8 call exercise earlier, that people were sending messages and not getting acknowledgements, or acknowledgements when they were left in mailboxes, but therefore thought it was sent. And if you don't get the acknowledgement back, it's not there. Just like you would do with the voice message. Right, and on that topic, it's a thanks to Chris, the first of the thanks for taking part in the exercise this afternoon. Golf 6, Papa Delta Echo, G4 and RC, over.
Good afternoon, Greg. Good afternoon, everyone from G6PDE. I had a test of the domestic emergency or contingency procedures this week. I returned from a weekend to find the central heating not working. It took several days to restore normal service, but the contingency plan of an open fire with plenty of coal stocked up in the shed outside worked well enough to meet the success criteria, which in this case was my wife not leaving me. So that worked. Enjoyed the JS8 call net this afternoon. I hadn't really been aware of the messaging capability prior to today. I don't know why. It was all in the notes when I looked at them that you'd linked to, but obviously not paid proper attention before. So we've got some more reading to do there. I was using my Icon, my 2735 with a laptop, running off a car battery today, just for sort of the ease of use. But what I'd like to do another time is try it from the garden using the QDX, which is only 5 watts. But I'd be interested to see the comparative performance between that and the IC735 running about 30 watts into the ATU on that. Thanks to you, Greg. G4 NRC from G6PDE.
6 Papa Delta Echo G4 NRC. Okay, your 30 watts was doing okay. Wasn't notable. You felt a little quieter than some of the other stations. But quite a wide spread of signal to noise levels from the minus 11 dBs up to sort of plus 11 or 12. Hence changing some of the speeds that were in use. JS8 calls got a lot to learn about in some ways. Still know I have a promise to the HF team to do a video on how to do the message workflow from creating a message in FL Message to get the formatting right and then dropping it into the offending window of JS8 call. But I did hear thought I heard some very, very weak signals on 40 meters, so I think we were getting wider coverage than otherwise indicated from the UK and Ireland participation. The Netherlands was also on the exercise, but on the wrong frequency. So they'll get it right next month. Trevor, G4KUJ, you were also listening on the exercise. Wonder if you had a chance to scroll back through the logs. G4KUJ, G4NRC, over.
G4NRC and the group, G4KUJ, yes. Good afternoon, Greg and everybody else. Yes, I was listening, did put out one call, but we had visitors and lunch, so wasn't able to do that. Take part actively, but I can see some Irish stations, EI stations, Beta, GW4OZU, M6 AQW down in Surrey, G6PDE was seen by me, and that's about it, I think. I could have expected to see a few more stations, but seems that Inter-G wasn't too brilliant today. Apart from that, during the week, I've now got a full duplex system available on QO100, and I've been trying to make JS800 call work, JS8 call rather, but so far failed to get any decodable signal through, even with fudging the timing so that the receive signal sits right in the middle of the 15-second tramways on the waterfall display. And the only other thing was something you said in one of your I think emails or WhatsApp, Greg, about Arden. I had a look at what hardware was compatible and found that the mobile portable router that I swapped earlier in the year, because it seemed to have lost all its LED displays, but still seemed to be working okay, but I swapped it out for a new unit just to be on the safe side, and I see that although it's no longer made and marketed, it does have a Arden compatibility, so I think I might download the firmware for that and see if I can make it work. And I also found that the supplier, GLI, do a low cost device, which is selling at about £20 a throw on Amazon at the moment, and that is a current. And that'll teach me to speak too long. G4 NRC, G4KUJ.
G4, KUJ, G4 and RC. Yeah, okay. So once I got back from Serbia, I braced myself and pinged Steve, G4 EKM. Got an Arden tunnel to his system up in NetNet. And I've been browsing around, and that and some of the conversations this week have led me to figure out a little bit more how I can try and make Arden and the 44 network together. So yes, it's becoming a bit of a time sink now. Browsing around all the different sites that are available on Arden first before we even figure out how to get the RF links working. Right, next it's Philip, Golf 4 Kilo India Lima, G4 and RC over.
Yeah, G4 and RC G4 KIL. Oh, obviously interfering with some audio equipment there. Got some funny noises coming out of the speaker. Right, yes. Your comment that if I don't hear my name, then I haven't been heard. Yeah, I understand that as a general principle, but when I've just called in and then realised by the a receive light coming on the radio that I actually inadvertently turned down the volume control on the radio when I let go of it, and when I turn it back up again, all I hear is the end of the acknowledgement. I don't actually know whether you called my name or not. Not it really matters, but that was why I wasn't sure. That was the context of my comment. No problem. All very good. And firstly, was involved in a small event today in the to do with a Remembrance Day march in. Up in Worthing, not actually a RAYNET event. It was a local radio group event, which I'm also a member. And that thankfully went ahead very well. Talking of which, the criteria for success, I suppose, yes, similar to my other folk, really. I call perhaps the minimal criteria for success is I found where I was supposed to go, the radio worked, I didn't blow it up during the event, and I got back home again successfully. So that's probably a pretty minimal criteria. Yes, I'm sure some more exacting criteria would be good. Hopefully we'll be on for the HFNet on Tuesday, and the following Tuesday, and I think the following one. I'm expecting to be available now for the rest of this month on Tuesday evening, so hopefully I'll speak to you then, Greg, if you're up on it as well. Sorry I didn't make the JSA call one, again, because I was doing this event today. It was, I couldn't get sorted out to try and do that, but I'll try again next time it comes up, maybe. I think that's for me. G4NSC, G4KIL.
G4KIL, G4NRC returning. Okay, yeah, understood the volume going strong up and down. It's just I thought sometimes people blip up, and if you don't get the acknowledgement back, or if I think that was just a blip, I'm not going to even respond to it. People think they're on the net and they're not. So yeah, two-way communication, or even railway side, I think three-way communication should be the norm for some things. Right, HF that Tuesday should be okay, but conditions are now getting very winter seasony. Okay, next to Phil, Golf 4, Hotel Uniform Foxtrot, G4 and RC over.
Is G4HUF. Yep. Good morning, Greg. Good morning, everybody else on the net. Not got a great deal to say, but interesting the comments about exercises and things. My opinion about a successful exercise or event is quite simply the fact that it was thoroughly boring and there were no incidents. And if that's the case, it was a bloody good event. As simple as that. With regard to exercises, I want to get my admin sorted out in this group first before I worry about getting adventurous. And organising the internal admin is still taking a little bit of effort, but we are moving forward slowly. Anyway, that's more of a Cheshire issue for Greg and Graham, and not the wider net. So that's really it from me. I'll call it a day on this occasion, Greg, and just continue to monitor from this point onwards, unless, of course, there's anything you've got to throw back at me. G7, correction, G4 HUF clear.
G4 HUF, G4 NRC returning. Okay, no, nothing Cheshire related or otherwise that I haven't already sent on email. Admin, yes. If we counted up how much time we spent on sorting out dragging group bank accounts and doing admin versus actually playing on the radio, I think we find the balance was not quite there where it should be. And I got challenged on success at the IARU conference about what did a good exercise look like from somebody who hadn't actually been on one of them. So that's just why it's a topic for the week. I'll get an answer for them eventually. Right, next to Ian, Golf 3, Zulu Hotel X-Ray, G4 and RC over.
G4 NRC in the group, good afternoon, this is G3ZHX. I'm going to leave the question about what makes a good exercise because I'm not sure I've got an answer for that. As regards being ready for winter, well, I don't really see it as being a lot different from any other time of the year, other than the fact that it's cold and one has to dress up warmly. And I'm obviously ready for that. So I'm probably ready for winter, but there's only one way to find out, and that's to have everything go pear-shaped and be cooled. I've got a query for you, Greg. Do we have any colleagues in Iceland? I was wondering whether there's been any radio traffic about this possible volcanic eruption. Could be interesting to know. Oh, and a comment for Graham, G7NEH. I didn't say last week that I had no audio because I keep the audio turned down on the TV when I'm on the net. Hang on. Sorry, cough. And I find it very difficult to follow two streams of audio which are identical but several seconds apart. With that, I'll hand it back to you, G3ZHX.
Golf 3 Zulu Hotel X-Ray, G4 and RC. Okay, in what kind of order do I answer that? Comments on no audio. Yes, understood. There are many varying audio delays depending on where you pick this up from. So I understand why it's turned down. I think Graham had observed that probably 50% of the people watching aren't actually on the net. So I'm genuinely just have been listening. But okay, we've answered some of the views and the comments. As to Iceland and the forthcoming eruption at a place I've still got to learn how to say the name of. Yes, there is a Icelandic amateur radio society, and they do have emergency communications as part of their reasons for existence. They're not the most active, however, because the Iceland Civil Protection organisation is obviously keyed up for these kind of things. So evacuating, I think I heard yesterday, 1% of the population out of the affected town is something they've already figured out how to do and where to put people, including as well shutting a fairly major tourist attraction in the Blue Lagoon. So, yeah, the local authorities are well all over it. So Iceland participates in emergency comms exercises, might do something, but not normally for an event like this unless it starts to affect a much wider area. So hopefully that answers that question. Calling next to Echo Zero, Charlie Mike Sierra, G4 and RC, over.
Yeah, from 2E0 CMS. And apologies if the audio's a little noisy. I seem to pick up a little bit of noise from one of my Android devices, I think, on this, but never mind. So what do we consider a successful event? I think any event where you're asked to come back and do it again the next year has got to be a good one. We must have done something right. Anything else from me this week? We've had another request from the Kent Association of Local Councils to do a local presentation for those next Saturday, I think it is, which reminds me I need to get my finger out and finish the presentation. But myself, the Kent controller and controller for West Kent, and also the controller for South Kent. We're all getting together to take the newly donated emergency control unit that the fire brigade donated to us. Take that up and let people have a look around that, and we'll also have a stand inside where we can have some sort of leaflets and things available, and I'm just knocking up a PowerPoint presentation that will be looping with a few different bits from some of our exercises and that on it as well, and a bit of history on RAYNET. But apart from that, I don't think I've got anything else to add at the moment. Back to you, Greg. G4NRC 2E0CMS.
To Echo Zero, Charlie Mike Sierra, G4NRC. Okay, well, good luck with next Saturday. At least you've got plenty to show and tell and plenty of support. Some things crossed my mind this week. Earlier on I read that Starlink, later versions of Starlink terminals will now support IP version 6, which isn't bad since IP version 6 seems to have been around for at least 20 years. So just wondering on the next round whether your units are IPv6 capable, because there are more and more websites now starting to be only available through that protocol, as the global shortage of IP version 4 addresses continues and will do. But otherwise, success when you're asked to come back and do it again. Yeah, that's for events, and I wonder about for exercises, because I do see a distinction sometimes between the two. Right, we've got 3 to go. Next is Zara, who isn't going to be last on the list today. Mike Zero, Juliet Sierra Alpha, G4NRC, over.
Yeah, good afternoon, Greg. Good afternoon to everybody on the net and anybody listening. Yeah, there's a blurring, isn't there, between exercises and events. Because most of the events we do here in East Suffolk are deemed to be exercises because there's no user service present anymore. Since the, shall we say, the professional first aid people either stopped doing it or charged too much. We get a lot of third-party medical companies now, so we tend to end up doing them all as exercises rather than anything else. We had a very successful one today, a local 7-mile race. The race leader was averaging 5 minutes a mile and broke the course record by 2 3/4 minutes. Successful, unfortunately, everything worked, all the radio nets worked. No problems, and everybody was happy with what we did. So that's my idea of a successful event, stroke exercise. Back to you, Greg. G4NRC, M0JSA, the group.
M0JSA, G4NRC. Yeah, 5-minute miles is good. I wonder what the slowest person did it in. Just as an aside, catch that on the next round. But understand now the blurring between exercises and events, but probably tease into local authorities don't ask for proper activations between emergency centres anymore because they can't get the overtime to support such exercises themselves. Okay, 2 to go. Philip, Mike India 0, Mike Sierra Oscar, G4NRC, over.
G4NRC and I0MSO. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everybody on the net. Yes, a couple of things there. Pick up events / exercises as well. I like to think the several we do a year are very successful because it's the same events, exercises we've been doing this past 10 years and asked back every year, so we must be doing something right. Yeah, somebody mentioned Starlink there. I have to reactivate mine again because of that presentation to do on it to the emergency comms people here in Zone 11 on the 29th of the month. And we will be linking it to our Arden test network too. Somebody did mention yesterday, I need to look it up, how to run Starlink over 12 volt or 24 volt or something like that, so which would be very handy. for when your power bank or using no access to 240 volts. And yeah, our Arden test network's taken off greatly, especially this week. A lot of work done, and we got our first semi-long range RF link up yesterday. A couple of cameras at high state, so we're getting there. Done more in the last few weeks than we've done in the last couple of years on Arden, so there's a good wee team working on that. But that's all I have at this point. Great, back to you.
Mike India Zero, Mike Sierra Oscar, G4 and RC. Glad to hear the Arden test network's coming along well. I'm tending to find the RF bit is the easy part because we know what will work and what won't work for paths. It's more getting the band software sorted out. Hence, picking up Steve G4 EKM's offer of a tunnel to him because I can see how it all hangs together and how to address stations and so on and look at offered services, rather than trying to learn that and get the RF side working at the same time. So we'll see how it all grows. Okay, last one on this turn, then we got to the top of the list. It's David, Mike Zero, Whiskey Delta Golf, G4 and RC, over.
Mike Zero, Whiskey Delta Golf in the group. Good afternoon all. Dave, Southfield Strainet here. First timer, and I must admit it is a complete fluke. I just happened to be going upstairs to get some trousers to put in the wash, and I happened to look at the Pi Star and I went, whoa, activity on the national calling. Picked up the radio, turned it on, and heard you calling out for stations. So thought, oh, jump in on that one. So yeah, all good fun. South Wilts, we had our AGM yesterday, and obviously we raised about using DMR, hopefully trying to segue. Obviously I had heard about the RAYNET servers at the RSGB convention, set up a hotspot to use them, and hopefully the group North Wilts hopefully it's a bit of a segue into using the RAYNET servers on top of other services provided by a couple of repeaters in the local area, and or hotspots, and or our own pop-up repeaters if we have any. I'm tempted to, if it goes down the road of using it a lot more, I'm tempted to go out and buy one of the DVM boards, then make up a six-way DIN cable to go in the back of the 7800, 8900 or the FTM 400, and use that as a high power hotspot, possibly, or even I mentioned on email earlier on to Guy about possibly using the 8800, the 8900 as a duplex, crossband duplex DMR hotspot, as it were. So, you know, I have an appetite to play after a while out of the game, but it's just finding the time with work and everything. So when I was up this morning at Andover Remembrance with my colleagues in Green, and regards to Colin CMS, I saw he'd got a new battle bus. Yes, I remember going around in the old police prison van that Kent RAYNET had before it was it went a little bit beyond economical. Well, it wasn't economical to run anymore. So yeah, good times back in Kent, as it were. Now I'm in South Wiltshire. Back to you, G4 NRC M0 WDG.
M0 WDG, G4 NRC returning. Okay, yeah, I equally need to get an DVM board out, albeit the one I've got is very, very old. But there is a new, fairly significant rewrite of DVM coming along. One of the most requested facilities has been an FM repeater. So that's been incorporated along with a packet modem and a couple of other modes. So M17 more as a client is there as well now. So you could use your MMDVM modem as an M17 modem instead to access that mode. Which we're looking at moving people across to digital modes is the reminder that from the RAYNET requirements, user services want to encrypt traffic, and there's only DMR and M17 which will handle encryption. Right, that's the end of the list. We're getting exuberant again, taking advantage of basketball for me not starting till 6 o'clock. So the only thing I've got to add for the second round is Committee of Management are having a meeting on the 17th. When inevitably I think we'll be trying to pick a date for the round 2 of the AGM to be held virtually, so we can clear our business for the year. So hopefully I'll have something to announce next week. Other than that, let's go round for finals. Golf 8 Echo Echo Yankee, G4NRC, over.
G4NRC from G8EY. Oh, let's go see how far back I've got to go. Oh, yes. Yes, antennas are always a problem when it comes to electrical storms. I've always worked on the principle that masts and mounts should be earthed to a decent earth. I prefer antenna feeds with DC continuity, which stops static build-up, or at least drain resistors, because the biggest draw for a lightning strike is having a high impedance to ground on an antenna, because it can leak charge up. When we had installations at City Hall, the control runs were 80 metres out in the open to radios at 100 feet, and we used galvanic isolation on all control lines and audios, and surge protectors on all feeders at the 100-foot point. The existing setup at Wyndham is at 60 metres, and again we've got galvanic isolation on all controls that go into their network distribution for control, and again surge protectors on all feeders. From the point of view of exercises, we don't have a problem in Norfolk with overtime costs for employees and staff and so on, because they always try to do them on weekdays. And they get round the difficulty of nobody being available, because obviously people need to work, especially after COVID. So they go for no member deployment exercises. So what I've got is a situation where the rest of my group wonder why they don't seem to see anything happening, while I'm like the swan paddling away furiously at the top rather than at the bottom. From G8EY.
Golf 8 Echo Echo Yankee, G4NRC. Yeah, that aspect where people don't want us on their exercises or physically out there is one potentially where you just do it anyway. Not put people in the buildings because they get locked out, but if you have something that requires a deployment or a call out, at least everybody would get a call out, even if they just came on from home, just to confirm and maybe just push some prepared messages around. I think the idea of a parallel exercise was also in vogue as well at one point. If somebody was doing an exercise scenario you liked but you weren't invited, then you could just do your own thing as long as you didn't break the main exercise. So yeah, pain in the neck, and of course all good practices you mentioned there on lightning protection. Okay, Dave, Mike 7 Alpha Victor Oscar for a final, G4NRC, over.
Yeah, G4NRC, Mike 7 Alpha Victor Oscar. Yeah, just to add, after my last over, I do disconnect all coaxes when there is lightning storms forecast in the back room here when we're set up in. Regularly disconnect those. Don't leave those connected. But nothing more to add. If there is any exercise, anything coming up, give us a shout, and don't forget we still use Zoom without permission as long as we get advance notice and book it, we can use the room at the fire station down there in Tarpley. There's no problem at all with that. I've got that in writing now. Back to you, Greg. Mike 7, Alpha Victor Oscar.
Mike 7, Alpha Victor Oscar, G4 and RC. Yeah, I've not forgotten you've got the fire station availability. Just lingering on an earlier point though, with the disconnecting coax when the storms are forecast just down the road from us in Bunbury. A good friend thought living in a thatched cottage it'd be a very good idea to take his antenna feeders out and put them in a glass jar overnight because he heard a storm was coming, and he got woken up to see all sorts of interesting corona discharge coming off the end of the coax that couldn't get out through the glass insulator, but hadn't got anywhere else to go, and he just had to look at it through the rest of the night with, what do we do with this? It's obviously charged, it's obviously nasty. But it was one good strike or leap away from escaping the glass jar and finding somewhere else to find a path to ground. So yeah, there's probably more to talk about on that. Right, let's see how many viewers have lost. Graham, G7 and the H, G4 and RC, over.
G4 and RC, G7 and the H. So our viewer count for today is a total of 13 views, and there's 5 viewing at the moment. And yeah, so not a lot else to add to this then, so thanks for doing the net, Greg, and we'll obviously be on next week. G4 and RC, G7 and the H.
G7 and the H, G4 and RC, and I think I've not read your WhatsApps, but I get the idea there'll be a second channel running on G7 and the H YouTube of Cooking with Graham soon. So that's also making me realise we need to bring this net to a close of sorts. Right, thanks for doing the stream, Graham, and to go down to Chris for a final. Oh, sorry, Chris, I was running 40 watts today, by the way, 40 watts to a 54-foot end-fed wire for the JS8 call exercise. Golf 6, Papa Delta Echo, G4 and RC, over.
Yeah, thanks, Greg. I was running 30 watts into a 40 metre length wire end-fed with a home milk transformer at one end. Possibly not big enough for 30 watts. The ferrite ring is fairly small, so I might investigate getting a better ferro ring on there. Thanks very much for running the net. G6PDE clear.
G6PDE, G4 and RC, thanks for the cook on Chris, and no doubt we'll have more of a post-mortem on the exercise. I'll be getting it twice on the RAYNET-HF mailing list and the IARU one. Okay, thanks for participating there as well, it's much appreciated. Right, Trevor, look forward to hearing when you get your Arden node sorted, but my question in the log that I should have asked last time round, if JS8 call isn't working, what are you getting for FT8 decodes? Since I believe that mode's also in use on the satellite. G4KUJ, G4 and RC, over.
G4 and RC, G4KUJ. Yeah, okay, I've looked on the FT8 channel, and there's lots of activity there. What I haven't done yet is had enough time to see if I can decode it. I've seen 1 or 2 call signs pop up, but also some strange looking decodes. So that's probably something to have a play with during this week. To David, in wherever it is, down in, yeah, Suffolk, where are you? Suffolk Salisbury, Salisbury, aren't you? I've built about, I've had running about 2 years, for about 2 years now, a talk through in-band 77 system, which uses an MMDVM board, and the receive transceiver is a Yaesu 7800, and the transmit one is a Yaesu 8900. and it interfaces to the 9600 port on the 6-pin port on the back of both radios, and it works a treat. It works either on DMR or on the ASU system fusion. Depending on which one you hit it with first, it will reply on that mode. So that does work very well. And I was interested in the comments about the new MMDVM firmware that's on the horizon. Nothing more from me. Back to you, Greg, from G4KUJ.
Again, G4KUJ, G4NRC returning. Okay, yes, it felt like there were a couple of screens worth of updates on MMDVM from a newsletter I got last week. So I'm trying to remember when I get to the game to forward it through to you, or point you at it. But there's lots, it seems, going on. FT8 just struck me because it's the same mode at heart as JS8 calls, so if you can get that one working with others, should get the timing problems sorted out. Alright, Philip, G4KAL, G4NRC, over.
G4NRC, G4KAL. Yeah, acknowledge your point about the difference between event and exercise, well made. And I guess from that point of view, well, at least one thought came to my mind. I mean, a successful event is one you learn, a successful exercise is one you learn something from. If you didn't learn anything, it probably wasn't any point in doing it. Apart from showing everything's working, I suppose, which is always good. We've not had a lot of them. I was thinking back, probably a couple I can think of, which I think have probably, I would have said were successful because we learned from them. Things worked reasonably well, but we learned from them as well, which I think is probably what I would say there. Yeah, okay. I think I'll leave there. Say 73. Thanks for running the net, Greg, and hopefully speak to you on HF during the week. G4NRC, G4KL.
G4KAL, G4NRC, yeah, I hope so, and I think I put a smiley in the log after exercise is something you learn from, which is probably sums up just about everything I touch in IARU Region 1. If it went right, we definitely wouldn't have done the exercise right. So as long as we keep walking away with something else to do, that's one of the success criteria. Okay, 73, so hopefully talk to you on the HF net. Next to Ian, Golf 3 Zulu Hotel X-Ray, G4NRC, over.
G4NRC, G3ZHX. Thanks for your comments on Iceland, Greg. That was pretty much what I expected. For the Icelanders, I suppose a volcanic eruption is not that major an event. And I'm minded of a seminar I went to for Thames Valley Police some years ago, where they described an incident somewhere around Reading where somebody drove into a petrol pump, set it on fire on a forecourt. The ambulance service weren't involved because nobody was injured. The fire brigade sent a couple of appliances and just sat there because it was a normal fire for them. And the police declared a major incident because they had to shut the main road that ran past the petrol station. So what qualifies as a major incident does depend on your frame of mind. With that, I'll say thanks for running the net, Greg, and look forward to speaking to everybody next week. This has been G3ZHX.
G3ZHX, G4NRC, yeah, that does also bring about, yes, the problems we have internationally as well as nationally. What's one person's big problem is just another business as usual. Okay, thanks Ian, talk to you next week hopefully. Colin, 2 Echo 0, Charlie Mike Sierra, G4NRC, over.
Yeah, 120 CMS. Yeah, okay. The last question from you on Starlink as to whether it supports IPv6. The answer is yes, it does. The other thing that might be useful for Philip, MI0 MSO, I think it is. who's doing his presentation later, or in the next week or so. The router that actually comes with the Starlink isn't particularly strong. I think it only does Wi-Fi 5, and the range on it isn't particularly good. It will fill a room, no problem at all, which has worked for us up till now. But I've just bought a new system to bolt onto the Starlink, so if we need to get it deeper within the building and into other rooms, then we can use that. And that also uses Wi-Fi 6, which it's got a lot stronger signal and much better penetration through walls and other materials as well. As to what constitutes a major incident, when I was in the fire brigade, which was a few years ago now, it used to be that you couldn't declare it a major incident until there had been at least 10 fatalities. So you're looking at a major train crash or something like that. But those rules seem to have gone out the window, and basically it seems these days that any incident that involves all three emergency services tends to be a major incident. So not what I would call a major incident, but there you go. Anyway, thanks for running the net, Greg. 7 threes from me for now, and hopefully catch you next week. G4NRC 2E0 CMS.
2 Echo 0 Charlie Mike Sierra G4NRC. Okay, Colin, some lovely helicopter interference from your mobile phone that time round. Very consistent putting at high frequency. So yeah, that one's got to sort itself out. The rules, I think if you look, I think it's in Jessup training, but it's now any incident that's likely to exceed the capabilities of a service or require the attendance of more than one has that risk of turning into a major incident. The challenge in Cheshire wasn't what the level was, it was having people with the confidence to declare it. So we had a little intermediate beastie called a major incident standby. So we're not calling it a major incident yet, but when a senior officer arrives and says it is, then it will turn into a major incident. Seems to be how it would work. But yeah, the definitions are strange, but should eventually tend towards common sense. Right, thanks for the update on your Starlink and IP version 6. That's good. Next, and with relief, because he always hates being lost on the net, and he definitely isn't this time. Alan, Mike 0 Juliet Sierra Alpha G4NRC over.
Yeah, thanks, Greg. Actually, the thing I most hate is being the only person on the net, talking for myself. I haven't posted the results for the race yet. I think it's a bit too quick. But the previously posted course record for 7 miles was 36 minutes 33. So as he done it he based it by more than 2 minutes, because I assume he did it in 34. The last person took 90 minutes, which averages at 13 minutes a mile. It was not bad, actually. We've had him a lot slower than that. So she just arrived back at the start finish. So we were doing a 2-minute silence. So the race started at 9:30. So we had 90 minutes for the trading lady at the back. No more else to say, really. I've got to try and get on this HF NVID stuff. I've built another aerial based on a design by Ian G0ZS. But I've now discovered that the long wire we've put up at our local radio club for HF, 30 odd or 40 metres of wire on a 49 to 1 transformer thing, is only 6.5 metres off the ground. So that may well work quite endless on its own. So that's something I can definitely have to play with when I get a bit of time. Oh, thanks for running the net, Greg. I hope this Slovakia or Slovenia. No, Serbia. Trip went well, and a successful outcome all round. Back to you. G4NRC, M0 Chazzy, and the group.
M0 JSA, G4NRC. Yeah, well, in which order should we do this? 90 minutes, 30 minutes a mile. Yeah, if you'd said 20 minutes a mile, that was walking pace. So at least your 7-milers do at least try, unlike the ones who do some of our marathons and half marathons up here. but we do have to allow for a walker from the absolute start to finish. Last week being a success in Serbia, well, yes, if you think being re-elected for another 3 years was a success, but there's probably another story in there. Right, 7-3 to you, 2 to go, and then I've got to rapidly start running out of the door. Mike India 0, Mike Sierra Oscar, over to you, Philip. G4 NRC, over.
G4 NRC, MI0, MSO. Yes, not much to add. I would be interested in calling. I didn't just catch what he was saying there, but is that on the Starlink system, but I would be interested to hear more about that and anybody that knows any way of powering the Starlink apart from the 240 volts. Nothing else to add. Very good at this stage, so thank you for running the net, and always it's something new and more information. Not really. 7-3 for now.
Mike India 0, Mike Sierra Oscar, G4 NRC. Well, I'm sure Colin to Echo 0, Charlie Mike Sierra, and you could carry on the conversation after the net once we close it, or set up a SCAD to get more info so you can swap your Starlink info as required. Doesn't all have to be done through the net. Right, and with apologies, but the final one today. David, Mike 0, Whiskey Delta Golf. Glad it was a kind of fluky attendance for you today. Hopefully it was worthwhile. M0, WDG, G4 NRC, over.
Mike 0, Whiskey Delta Golf in the group. Yeah, I say bit of a fluky attendance, but yeah, useful. I know there's people around, and I also know my hotspot works properly for proper communication rather than just talking to myself on Echo. And I think I've had one conversation via it. So I mean, I've been playing with the DAPRS on the Anytone radio I've got. With it, obviously seeing myself pop up. So have a bit of a play with that. I've got disabled at the moment, but yeah, hopefully get the local group, get the South Wales group and the North Wales group involved. Have a chat with Frank PCB and see if we can get a bit of get a bit of passion going. Maybe even set our own net up on the on our group channels, as it were. So go from there, one can hope. And yeah, in terms of HF and all that, I'd love to get the HF antenna out, but rented accommodation, bit difficult. So yeah, all the HF stuff's packed away. Literally, the only radio got out is the FTM 400 in the car, which is currently off the run at the moment. And obviously then this handheld that I'm using now, plus the Pi-Star hotspot, which I don't think I've ever actually updated the firmware of the MMDVM board in it, so maybe I need to go and do that at some point. It's only a simplex node, but maybe we should update the firmware anyway. And then obviously, if the new firmware coming out allows you to do an FM repeater, then suddenly things become very simple for cobbling two radios together. So make a repeater. It's a standalone repeater board, as I say. Anyway, I'll listen on to the end, which is probably going to be about 2 minutes after I finish. But I'll listen on to the end anyway. It's a 7-3. Thanks for running it, and I'll hopefully try and get back on at some point. I'm not around next Sunday. I'm busy. I'll try and get on following Sunday. Thanks, Greg, and all. G4 NRC M0WDG.
M0WDG, G4NRC. Okay, well, if you do get more users in your area, if they've got hotspots on the RAYNET system, then your group's got 100 talk groups to use, so you're not short of having net. There is more activity outside 5023531. So groups are having nets of their own on their own talk groups, or using this one on different nights of the week, just so everybody can hear what's happening. Other comments about HF is maybe one for another week, but I had a thing on test which was just 3 or 4 mobile whips on a mount on the ground, which didn't do too bad for HF, and that was planned for me for going mobile or portable rather than rented accommodation, but might be a way of getting around your problem there as well. Right, I am into desperately overtime now, so I thank all stations for taking time out of their busy schedules to participate in this afternoon's net. Be careful, have a good week, and until next Sunday afternoon at 1600 hours local time, I'll close the RAYNET-UK weekly activity net and return talk groups 23531 on Pheonix and Brandmeister and 5023531 on RAYNET to being an open net rather than a directed net. 730, this is Golf 4 November Romeo Charlie now closing, reverting to my normal call sign of Golf 0 Delta Uniform Bravo, and then sadly going immediately QRT as I try and get myself 10 miles north of where I should be.